Hello, listeners, and welcome back to Second Take Cinema, coming at you from the glorious Impala Films headquarters in sunny Southend-on-Sea. I am your host, Jamie Evans, joined as always by my co-host, Rory Jocelyn.
Hello, everybody.
And it is the day after Valentine's Day. Are you ready for part 2 of our Valentine's Day special?
We didn't
A couple
kiss.
of days ago, we bought you The Notebook, Rachel McAdams, Ryan Gosling, and today, get ready to have the time of your life as we give a second take to Dirty Dancing. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we are going back to ye old year of 1987 to watch Dirty Dancing, starring Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey. Written by Eleanor Bergstein, produced by Linda Gottlieb, and directed by Emil Ardolino. You probably know this film. This is a film that is in the pop culture quite firmly. Everybody knows Dirty Dancing. Even if they've not seen it, everyone knows the line, "Nobody puts baby in a corner."
It's also been referenced in 1,000,001 different TV shows.
My
films.
favourite reference to it ever is in How I Met Your Mother, when Barney tries to claim that Patrick Swayze's backstory is his own backstory.
What, from this film?
Yeah. And they do the scene where it's doing the baby mass, but it's Neil Patrick Harris dressed up as, and they've like made him look like he's in the footage from Dirty Dancing.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah, it's really good. This film was made on a budget of $4.5 million.
Which seems like nothing nowadays.
And made a huge $214 million.
Hang on. It was $4.5 million in 1987.
Yep. Which in
Star
today's
Trek...
money is...
Yeah, no, but Star Trek Wrath of Khan came out in 1982, I think, and was, I think, about 20 million, or 18 million.
Yeah.
So... This had way lower... Don't get me wrong, obviously it has way less visual effects.
Yeah, I don't remember the bit where Patrick Swayze got on a spaceship in this.
No, but so obviously I understand a lot of that cost probably would have gone to the visual effects that this didn't have.
Yeah.
But still, if you compare that, like, you're talking about a big blockbuster movie with stars in it.
And to be honest, your other big difference is this. So this is an original IP. Star Trek is a franchise where you're bringing back characters who have played those actors who have played those characters for a long time, and with that comes high salary demands.
Yeah, come on, yeah, probably.
You know, Shatner was like, I want millions.
Well, Chris, what's his name?
Pine?
Yes. Chris Pine he refused to reduce his rate for a Star Trek 4 in the new, like, sort of alternate continuity, which is understandable. Why should he? Yeah. But that's part of many suggested reasons as to why that fourth film hasn't materialised.
Yeah. So this movie, of course, won an Oscar for Best Original Song for I've Had the Time of My Life. That'll be relevant in a moment.
Was that original for this film?
It was, yeah.
Oh, I thought that was just a pop song at the time.
And critically, the film has a 72% on Rotten Tomatoes, with the site's critical consensus reading, like its winsome characters, Dirty Dancing uses impressive choreography and the power of song to surmount a series of formidable obstacles. Metacritic, another review aggregator, assigns the film a weighted average of 65 out of 100, with which indicates generally favourable reviews. The New York Times described the film as a metaphor for America in the summer of 1963. Orderly, prosperous, bursting with good intentions, a sort of Yiddish-inflected Camelot.
Yiddish-inflected?
That's interesting. I don't quite know what they mean by that.
I think because from what I've read, the writer of this
Goldstein.
Yeah, she wrote it based on her life as a young Jewish woman.
Oh, okay.
And she'd go to, like, a lot of the elements. She apparently was called Baby until about 22.
Right.
Things like that.
I wonder if Jennifer Grey and her family are supposed to be Jewish then.
I think they're supposed to be.
Right.
I think that is somewhat implied that a lot of the people there are Jewish. A lot of the people, at least, who are on the upper class end of it. But it is awkward because there's a few elements of this. We'll get to it later, but I think there's several different class or socio-political things it goes through where it touches on them, but it doesn't explicitly state them.
Yeah.
And I think the Jewishness of the upper classes in this is something that's only sort of referenced visually a bit.
Right.
And even then, it's like, we're not going to focus on that, which is the right thing to do.
I got the name wrong, sorry. It's Bergstein, not Goldstein.
Oh, sorry. But also, it's weird that, like, considering the film never goes, this is the Jewish group, considering they don't mention it, it's weird for then the reviewer to then say it's got this Yiddish vibe.
Yeah.
It's a very strange thing to add.
Other reviews were more mixed, with Gene Siskel giving the film a marginal thumbs up, as he liked Jennifer Grey's acting and development of the character. However, Roger Ebert, getting it wrong for once, Ebert, gave the film a thumbs down due to its idiot plot, describing it as tired and relentlessly predictable story of love between kids from different backgrounds. Time magazine was lukewarm, saying if the ending of Eleanor Bergstein's script is too neat and inspirational, the rough energy of the film's song and dance does carry one along, past the whispered doubts of better judgment. In a retrospective review, Jezebel's Irene Carmen called the film the greatest movie of all time, as a great, brave movie for women, with some subtle, retrospectively sharp-eyed critiques of class and gender. I'm going to say, not just for women, I think this is a great film.
Yeah.
Abortion rights advocates have called the film the gold standard for cinematic portrayals of abortion.
Yeah, because at the time that this is set, there was no legal abortion in America.
Yeah. The intended audience for the film was teenagers, but actually drew a largely adult audiences, with viewers rating the film very highly. Many filmgoers, after seeing the film once, went back into the theatre to watch it a second time, and word-of-mouth promotion took the film to #1 position in the United States, and in 10 days it had broken the $10 million mark.
I reckon the reason for that is it accidentally hit what would now be considered the mummy porn crowd.
Yeah.
Because it's set 20 years prior. It's not set in the 80s, so it's set when mums now, at the time, would have been teenagers, etc., before they had kids. It was them going, oh, but I could have had a Patrick Swayze, and it's even though, weirdly enough, it didn't have a lot of 60s music, it was very much reminiscent of their time.
Yeah.
You get that a lot now with a lot of retro-infused, what we call now retro stuff. The stuff that's set in the 80s, and it's coming into the 90s, which is where people who are adults now were kids in that era and miss that era.
Yeah. The film's popularity continued to grow after its initial release, and in 1988, so the year after it was released, it was the best-selling home video. It was the first film ever to sell 1 million copies on home video, and when the film was re-released in 1997, 10 years after the original release, Patrick Swayze was given his own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Good, well earned. I like Swayze.
As of 2005, so that's quite a way after the film came out, it's nearly 20 years after it came out, it was still selling 1 million DVDs a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot for an out-of-date film, quote-unquote.
Yeah.
It just obviously resonated with people.
Yeah. A May 2007 survey by Britain's Sky Movies listed Dirty Dancing as the #1 film on women's most watched films, above the Star Wars trilogy, Grease, The Sound of Music, and Pretty Woman. Also, the film's music, last thing to say, the film's music has had a considerable impact, with I've Had the Time of My Life being listed as the 3rd most popular song to be played at funerals in the UK.
Oh. That's kind of a sad tone on that song.
That's kind of sad.
Song.
It's kind of sad, but it also means you've written a song that had a massive fucking impact.
Yeah.
If people want that played at their funeral.
I'll be honest, this has an incredible soundtrack, this film.
Oh, it's great. In my opinion, it's one of the best soundtracks in film history.
It's got to be up there at the very least.
Yeah.
That every song is incredibly well chosen. I thought that the song Time of My Life was a pop song that they used in this.
That they just licensed,
Yeah, but it's not. It was written for this
For
film.
well, it must be because it won Best Original Song at the Oscars.
There you go then, jeez. But yeah, and it's now become... It's probably because, obviously I was 1 when this film came out. I don't remember its release. But by the time I was a child, even like 5 years old or something like that, it was played at every single wedding, party.
Yeah.
That song would always get boshed out. So it became known for me as a pop song rather than actually associated with this film. But seeing it in context for the first time was good.
The soundtrack to this film is so good that I've actually considered buying the vinyl for my vinyl player.
Yeah, I think it's one of those few films where you're like, this is a soundtrack that deserves a bit more appreciation.
Anywho, speaking of soundtrack, it's time to play this episode's quiz game. As we've just said, Dirty Dancing, for the song I had the time of my life, won the Oscar for Best Original Song.
Yes.
I'm going to name you 10 different years, and you're going to tell me what won Best Original Song that year.
I'm failing this one straight up. Okay.
Worth a
What
shot.
film?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if you know the title of the song as well, that would be great.
Sure.
What I did consider doing was actually playing the songs, but then I realised we'd get taken down for copyright infringement.
Yeah. Can I just preface this before we start? I have very good, very deep knowledge of music, but within a very particular frame, specifically the techno and rave genre. I don't think we're going to get the Shaman Ebenezer Good appear on this list.
No,
so
I could say it's not.
Yeah, unless it's incredibly poppy, I probably won't know it.
If you need hints, I will have some hints available.
Okay.
So the first one is 1989. What won Best Original Song at the Oscars in 1989?
They're always from films.
Yeah, they're always from films. There's no trick questions. And I can give you a hint if you need it.
Can I take a hint?
This is an animated Disney movie.
Oh, Little Mermaid Under the Sea?
It is Under the Sea, Little Mermaid. Well done. Wow, I didn't think you would get that. Number 9, 1986.
Can I take a clue?
This is a live-action film starring Tom Cruise.
Oh.
That probably gave it away too much.
It's not Top Gun, is it?
It is Top Gun, but which songs? There could be 2, couldn't they? There's 2 big songs in that.
I'm not going to guess it. Is it the one when he's in the plane?
I've never seen Top Gun, so you'll have to specify.
I haven't seen Top Gun either.
Okay, there's 2 options. There's 2 songs that are associated with Top Gun.
Okay, I'm not going to be able to guess it.
Okay, it's Take My Breath Away. Take my breath away.
I didn't know that was in Top Gun. Jeez.
Yeah, it's that in Danger Zone.
Danger Zone would have been one.
Highway to the Danger Zone. Yeah, Take My Breath Away. It's by Berlin, I believe.
Oh, right, yeah.
Watching in slow motion.
Yeah.
I think it plays during the sex scene.
Right. They should have played Highway to the Danger Zone during the sex scene.
This next one is the oldest song on the list. 1961.
Oh, blimey, that is early still.
And posters of this film still, I think it's still one of like the number 1 sold posters in the world. I had it in my dorm room at uni because I'm just that cool.
Is it a horror?
No, I'll give you that. It is not a horror movie.
I honestly can't think of it though.
It is Moon River from Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Oh, blimey.
Moon River. Okay, up next, much more modern. 2012.
Oh, okay.
It's sung by a British singer, and it was the first...
Adele Skyfall.
God damn you! Yeah, I was about to say it is the first time this franchise won Best Original Song.
Nice.
I'll tell you what's interesting. This is the first time it won it, and then it's won it every time since.
Nice.
Because it was Skyfall, then Spectre, wasn't it?
Yep.
Sam Smith won for that.
Yep.
And then it was No Time to Die, and Billie Eilish won for that.
Wow.
So Adele has stopped, which in my opinion is undeserved because those 2 are nowhere near as good as Skyfall.
No, Skyfall was... I'm not a
I
fan
don't
of
like
Adele.
Adele. I don't like Adele. Skyfall's
that,
a banger.
Yeah, that was exceptional.
Yeah, I love Skyfall.
Yeah, that's funny.
That was funny that you got it just from It's a British Singer.
Yeah, I was like, British singer 2012, it's got Skyfall.
Okay? This is the one that you might get this or you won't get it.
Well, that's all of the questions.
I know,
Jamie.
but 1971.
Ooh.
So I might be wrong about this hint, but I think it's sung by someone from South Park. Was Isaac Hayes in South Park?
Yes, he was.
Yes, this is sung by Isaac Hayes.
Wow. Now I wish I'd looked up Isaac Hayes' back catalogue past South Park. I'm going to be honest, I'm drawing a blank.
It is Shaft from Shaft.
Oh my god, I should have known that.
Okay, up next.
Can I have a hint?
It is directed by Damien Chazelle, and it stars Ryan Gosling.
Ooh.
And Ryan Gosling sings this song.
That's the one he did with Lady Gaga, isn't it?
No, you're thinking of... you're not thinking that Ryan Gosling never did a film with Lady Gaga. You're thinking of Bradley Cooper from A Star Is Born.
That bastard. It is Bradley Cooper in A Star Is Born.
This is...
They don't even look alike.
This is 2 years before Star Is Born.
The closest I know of that time from him was Blade Runner, but he didn't sing a song for Blade Runner. And even then, I think Blade Runner's more modern than that.
It is City of Stars from La La Land.
Oh, I knew it was one of them. I don't know the difference between La La Land and the
Star
other
Is
one.
Born.
Yeah.
They're completely different films. We'll do them both because they're
It's got
both
a bloke
good.
and a woman singing and dancing.
True, very
It's
true,
the
but they're both
same
good.
Same film.
Okay, we're going back to ye old year of 1980.
Righto.
This is a very famous song. Girls Aloud did a cover of it at one point on tour, so don't factor that in.
Right.
And the name of the song is the same as the name of the film, and it's one word.
1980. Is there another hint available, or is that...
I could give you one more, but it definitely gives it away, so only if you're really stuck.
Okay. And it's at one word, you said.
The title is one word.
Alien.
No.
Can I have the hint?
I'm Gonna Live Forever.
Riker.
No.
He
Do you
says
not know
that
it?
on Next Gen. No, I have no idea.
Fame.
I've
I'm
ne-
gonna live forever.
I've never seen it.
I'm gonna learn how to fly.
I haven't seen that girly shit.
I'll see it come. I've never seen Fame, but I know the song Fame.
Yeah, but you like musicals.
Yeah, but it plays on the radio all the time. Fame
I don't
does.
listen to the radio.
Okay. Right, you ready
There's
for...
no rave on the radio.
Okay, we're into the top three.
Yeah, go on.
Number 3, 1991.
Terminator 2 just retired.
Guns N' Roses. Well, I'm kidding.
Okay. All I've got now is do-dung, dung, do-dung, bong, gong,
I've got
do-dung,
2 hints available if you want them.
Give me one hint.
Hint 1, the song is sung by Angela Lansbury.
Shit.
Do you want the second hint?
Yes, please.
It's an animated movie.
Oh. Is it Beauty and the Beast?
It is Beauty and the Beast from Beauty and the Beast.
Nice.
Taylor's
I did
oldest
not know
time.
Angela Lansbury sung that.
Yeah, she's the tea kettle lady.
That woman is incredible.
Oh, Angela Lansbury's amazing.
She's been acting in shit since 1944.
It's sad when she died.
Yeah, man.
Only like 3 years
yeah,
ago,
it's
weren't
still
it?
only recent, but yeah.
2002. And I'll admit,
Mission Impossible, Limp Bizkit.
I'm surprised this won it, just because it is not a genre you usually expect the Oscars to pay much credence to, especially not in 2002.
Where that's Pussy's Nicki Minaj.
First of all, that's the wrong singer, so well done. Wet
Is it not?
Wet Ass Pussy is Cardi B.
2002, would have come out in 2001. I'm going to need the hint.
Mom's Spaghetti.
Oh my god, 8 Mile.
Yeah, what's
Lose
the song?
Yourself.
Lose Yourself for 8 Mile won it. Final one. And there are no hints for this because this is so ridiculously easy. If you don't get this, you basically have never watched a film in your life.
But I just watched this.
Basically, no one who lived through this year, even if they were children,
Right.
should know. Like, this is so obviously the song. 1997.
Titanic, My Heart Will Go On.
Titanic, My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion, yes. Well, anyway, that brings us to the end of our quiz. Congratulations, you got 5 answers right.
Yay, that's 50%.
Hopefully everyone at home did better than you did.
I think everyone at home did better than I did.
Feel free to send us comments if you did.
got
And
Adele.
now we're going to take a short ad break and we'll be back to talk about Dirty Dancing. Okay, so Dirty Dancing. So this was one of mine. I put this on the list. We each picked one of the Valentine's films this year.
Yes.
You picked The Notebook. I picked Dirty Dancing.
I picked a romance film.
So did I.
Yeah, no, I'm joking.
So Dirty Dancing, my history with Dirty Dancing. So I first saw it when I was about 13 in a caravan in bloody Derbyshire. And it kind of went over my head a little bit. Like, I didn't hate it at 13, but I didn't fully, I might even have been younger than 13 actually, but I didn't fully grasp a lot of the themes of the film.
Sure.
I then didn't see it for a long, long time. And a few years ago, I'd say 4 years ago, sort of 2018 time, I saw the 30th anniversary edition in HMV, and it was in a sale and it cost like no money, so I bought it. And I've watched it about 3 times since in the last few years. I think it's brilliant. So I wanted to show it to you.
Nice. I'll be honest, I've never seen it before. I've always kind of wanted to, but I was kind of hoping I'd get to watch it with someone that I'm romantically involved with. Instead, it's you, Jamie. I didn't get any joy from you in this particular viewing experience.
Must not make jokes. Too many jokes. Must mock Rory.
But no, seriously. Yeah, I have to say I enjoyed my watch of this one. I expected to like the retroness of it at the very least, but I actually do like it as a film as well. I think it deals with a lot of themes that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, it's a deceptively deep film, I think.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting that a lot of the critics of the time missed the themes, or at least didn't pay much heed to them. And I'm wondering if that's because they missed them, or because because that would still be in the swing of Reaganism, wouldn't it? So
Yeah, 87, yeah.
Yeah, so the acceptance of, people maybe requiring abortions, or, certainly, let's say, for men forcing themselves upon women in the way that is not shown, but is suggested in this film.
Yeah.
That sort of thing would have been very uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable to see,
I
but I think it would have been uncomfortable for them to discuss, so I think maybe a few critics would have batted that away as in, this is left-wing garbage.
I think it's one of those common things that happens as well because of genre bias. Because it's not just this film, it's you could see this since the dawn of movie making. There's loads of films that come out and at the time are critically derided and then gain appreciation later.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the time it's because it happens in horror a lot. Because I think people critics at the time go, it's just a stupid horror film, I'm not going to pay attention to it, I'm just going to
so they miss a lot of the deeper elements of it.
Yeah, and then years later people go back and find them.
Do you think it's sexism, or do you think... Because obviously horror doesn't have... There's no sexism for the reason that horror is considered trash
it's just considered
genre.
a base genre.
It's just that, it's given that. Whereas romance... Like rom-coms, romance, they're generally female-centric.
Yeah, but they're considered a base genre as well.
Yeah, so like any themes that you might put into a romance might be considered to be shallow or worthless.
Yeah.
Do you think that may be a play of sexism, or do you think that's just because it's considered a base genre in the same way that horror is?
I mean, it could be, and maybe I'm being naive, but I think it's more just the genre bias.
Why do you think there's a genre bias against romance specifically? Because there's genre bias against sci-fi, but it's not considered dumb. There's genre bias against horror, but it's considered dumb because there's so much tut within it.
Same reason. There's so many tut romance movies.
Right.
There's so, but it's
I think Hallmark hasn't helped either with its
particularly in literature as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever heard the term chick lit.
Yes.
Not chicklet, chick lit. That is...
That's a tiny lady that works at KFC.
Well, it's books like that where... So I've got some, because I like romance stories, and I've got a couple of very good romance novels, but I've also got a couple of really shit romance novels with paper-thin characterization and plotting, and I think stuff like that... It's because romance can be at times can be a very formulaic genre, just like horror. Horror's got a very formulaic thing to it where you can just look at it as, okay, we need a monster, we need 5 teenagers, you're the jock, you're this, you're that, you die in this order, and the death scenes need to be spaced this far apart.
Teen comedies have a similar thing. Like, everyone has an archetype, you hit the archetype, and that's all you need to be.
The worst romance films, so again, not all romance films, but the worst ones, they're the same thing. Boy meets girl, they don't get along at first.
Yep.
X, Y, and Z happens, they end up falling in love.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, I can see. So it's... I think there's more chance for romance to be seen more intelligently than, say, mummy porn, which is not the same.
No. No, 50 Shades of Grey is garbage.
Yes, as is Twilight.
Which, to be fair, haven't seen 50 Shades of Grey, to be fair.
I've seen Twilight. It is garbage.
Yeah.
It is pure bilge.
Yeah, I got hired once to write a script for a short film. As in, I was hired. It wasn't my project.
Yep.
And I met with the guy, and he told me what he wanted, and it had all these vampires in it, and I started writing it. And I sent him what I'd got so far, and he came back to me and was like, oh, I want the vampires to be softer. I want them to be more like Twilight. And I quit.
You quit?
He was not paying me enough to write Twilight.
How much would you need to be paid to write Twilight?
A year of my salary now.
Wow. That's a big jump.
Yeah, which, to be fair, is the sort of fee a scriptwriter can expect in Hollywood.
Yeah.
But this was not this was just a guy. This was an indie filmmaker.
Yeah.
And he was like,
and obviously you weren't taking that level of salary for what you were writing before.
I was basically being paid a penance.
Yeah.
Pittance. And he wasn't.
But Twilight pushed you over
if
the edge.
If it had just been soft vampires, I could have lived with it.
But Twilight.
But when we had a meeting and went through it, and he basically wanted a remake of Twilight, and I was like,
you don't need you for that.
I was like, well, you can't make this because they will sue you.
Yeah.
Stephanie Meyer will sue your candy ass.
And he didn't need you for that. He can rewrite Twilight.
Yeah.
It's there. It's finished.
Yeah.
So
I didn't do that.
No, fair enough. You did not rewrite Twilight.
So, Dirty Dancing. I mean, where do we start? This film is one of those rare films, and these don't happen often, where it's not necessarily that the film is unique. It's not necessarily that the film is smarter than other films, because it's not really. It's not really that it does anything in it that's like, this was the first time this was ever done.
No.
It's just one of those things.
It's a perfect storm.
Yeah, a perfect storm. All the elements fall in the right place at the right time, and the film has a magic to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't tell you anything about this that makes it a better rom-com or romance film than particularly any other one, other than it feels so electric.
Yeah.
And that's not something that you
in
can...
this film.
And the problem with that, as they found with this film, is that's not something you can formulate.
Yeah, they tried, didn't they? Yeah, they tried a series, they tried a remake.
They tried a sequel.
A sequel. I think there's been a stage adaptation that bombed.
Yeah.
And we're getting another sequel in 2025.
Oh.
And Jennifer Grey's coming back, apparently. And you're like, Jennifer Grey, you are 60.
I'm guessing she's not playing that role. She might play the mum.
No, she's playing Baby. But it will be Baby goes back there.
So it's a sequel then, not a remake?
No, it's a sequel. I said sequel, didn't I?
I thought
yeah, she's playing Baby, and I can tell you now what it'll be.
He's dead.
It'll be he's dead, and she goes back there mourning him, and it'll be her with her and Johnny's kids.
Oh, do you think
it's going to be awful?
No. Do you think they're going to do that de-aging thing, and they're going to
see a ghost of Patrick Swayze?
She's going to dance with a ghost of Swayze.
If she dances with a ghost of Patrick Swayze, A, I'm buying a ticket and seeing it, and B, I'm then filling my pockets with concrete and jumping off the pier.
But you know that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, I know it is, and I need to see it.
I
need to see it, and then I need to die because I've seen it. Like,
it
no,
would be so disrespectful, but I think that's the... I hope not, but I can only imagine that's what they're doing. They're going, well, we can just rebuild him as a ghost.
Oh. And then it turns into a remake of Ghost. Except this time he actually is a ghost.
Do you think Whoopi Goldberg is going to... Yeah.
No, she's too busy on that talk show she hosts.
To be honest, nobody is busy on that talk show.
Okay. Let's start with the setting then.
Yes.
We don't often start in settings, do we?
Yeah, this is set in the 60s, even though it was obviously made in the 80s.
Yeah.
So
it's already got country club resorts, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got a so that gives it an immediate retro vibe, which, to be fair, helps grab an audience. Because it means that, because you said it was set for it was designed to be for teenagers.
Yeah, that's the audience they thought they were going to get was teens.
But it kind of helps that it was set in the past then, because they grabbed the teen audience for the romance and the fact that it's sexy Swayze.
Yeah.
But they also grabbed the mum audience because they set it in a time from where they would have been teenagers. Yeah. So it's actually, whether or not that was on purpose, it was a very, very smart move.
Yeah.
In terms of setting. It actually, I can't think of many romance films, like pure romance films, that are set in the present day of when they're made. The Notebook isn't set in the present day.
Serendipity was.
That's not a good one.
Last Christmas was.
Last Christmas was. That was okay, but it wasn't a classic.
Age of Adeline isn't that. That is and it isn't.
Yeah.
Because Age of Adeline starts in the past and travels forward.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Titanic's meant to be a big romance. That's set in the past.
Yeah. Pearl Harbor's set in the past, and it's also not good.
But I think there's something about nostalgia which at the moment is currently being levied towards sort of a cool kid crowd.
I tell you what, it doesn't
but
work.
I think nostalgia helps a lot with romance because a lot of people who are looking for a romance film are inclined towards remembering their first when it was all starry, it was all new, and it was full of possibilities.
And it doesn't work today because I hate to say this, and I hate to sound like an old man shaking my fist, but we're living in an era at the minute where things like love and romance and things
they're
like
dead.
They're dead. They are being viewed as out of date and
We're talking about in a
cheesy.
film sense. There's
Just in real life.
Yeah, to be fair.
Everyone's got side chicks now. And
Everyone's got side chicks. They've got
everyone's looking at how to hustle each other.
Yeah. They're like, you've got to hit my massive list of standards, which I can't match. And you're like, well, then why are you suggesting it of others?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of expectation.
Yeah, people
without-
don't even do...
Yeah, there's not a lot of empathy in
Yeah.
that.
People
But
don't put
outside
effort
of-
into dates anymore.
No,
Like-
they just view them as a way to get a meal or... But anyway, getting off of reality, back to
Yeah.
film... romance within film is also kind of dead.
Yes.
Because it's played with, to use the toilet paper term, bathos. Whenever there's a romance...
Or cynicism.
There's something heartwarming about this. It's like, you'll either have a comedy film where someone will walk past a straight couple and just go, oh, gay, as like a, ha, 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 isn't it funny because it's not. Or they will have... they'll try to kiss or something, and one of them go, God, this isn't how it was supposed to be in the film, or whatever. Like, just basically break the flow of the romance. There's also no heat between actors because there's a fear that the heat is equal to the abuse that the industry had.
Yeah.
I think.
No, and the chemistry here is phenomenal.
Yeah, and we're just subjected to a lot of expectation. In film, it's like you have to just accept this as this. You have to accept it. No one grows. No one, because again, like in this film, Jennifer Grey's character has to grow as an individual. She's just a daddy's girl at the start, and she's got a good moral core. But she has to learn to apply herself, which is what she does over the film. Yeah. Equally, Johnny, with Patrick Swayze's role, he starts the film off as quite hard-nosed. Like he's seen the class
He's got a
divide.
chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
About the fact that he's poor and he had this rough upbringing.
Yeah.
And he sees what these rich people are like, how they all think they can buy him all the time.
Yeah.
There's a great scene, isn't there, towards the end where she asks him how many women he's slept with. And he tells her about, these rich women, because he's a good-looking man, he's Patrick Swayze. These women come up to him and they slip him money and they slip diamonds in his pockets, he says, to have their way with him. And she even does what society would do, where she assumes that that's a brag on his part.
She thinks he's bragging, like, I can get all these chicks.
Yeah, and he's like, no, they used me.
Yeah, he's basically a prostitute.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah, they're making him into a prostitute.
Yeah. And they don't care because they don't respect him.
Yeah, and that's what's so great about this film is that both characters grow and change and have an arc, and they positively influence each other.
But that doesn't happen in modern films.
Well, it doesn't happen in a lot of... Even back then, a lot of lesser romance films.
Yeah.
What you tend to find is one person completely... Grease. Look at Grease.
Yeah.
Sandy completely changes for John Travolta.
He doesn't change an iota.
He doesn't change anything.
No.
At all.
You're right.
She changes her entire look, her attitude, everything.
She has to... Literally, the actress got sewn into trousers that she couldn't take off.
They are tight as shit.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Grease?
Yeah.
I mean, they are painted on.
Oh, no. Literally, she was sewn into them.
No, I know.
My mum was in her late teens, early 20s when that film came out. And obviously all the girls loved that look. She looks incredible. And then people would start selling what I suppose we would now consider jeggings or something like that, but an early version of that. And so people would buy them to look like she did in the film. The problem is they were never tight enough. Yeah. So they always looked a bit shit because they were never, for understandable reasons, girls weren't actually getting sewn into trousers in such a way that they couldn't get out of them in the way that she was during the production of the film. Another way that, I suppose fashion, like film influences fashion.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Well, remember when, and this is what's so great, just to brag on how great media and stuff is sometimes.
Yeah.
Look in the 90s when every girl wanted the Jennifer Aniston haircut from Friends.
Yes.
Yes, it's got this great thing where they both influence each other's development.
Yeah.
And that's, forget romance for a minute. How often do you actually see that in film? Where two characters both have arcs, and both arcs are intertwined so well.
I think a lot of problem in modern cinema, and I'm not going to get on this too heavy because it's not a big issue for me per se, but there is this perception, let's put it that way, that there is a female empowerment thing in modern cinema, insofar, not in a negative way, not in a normal positive way, but insofar as like the woman can never do any wrong, etc. Well, the problem with that is you can see that in films like Star Wars, the new Star Wars trilogy. Rey doesn't really change.
There's no growth.
She's correct from the start. She goes on a journey, but she's always correct, and she's always winning, which means that she has no real development or growth. She doesn't have anything that she has to really overcome other than a villain. But she never has to question herself. This happens in. There's a lot of this at the moment.
With the new Super Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah.
Peach has no development as a character.
Peach has no need for Mario in that film.
Yeah.
Like, she literally, when they go, who's that? She went, literally no one. And to be fair, Mario's literally nobody at that, certainly at that point.
In a film called Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, he's literally unimportant because the whole point is she could have done this herself. She wastes days training Mario and he still fails the course.
Yeah.
And you're like, and then she just goes, it doesn't matter, I can do it myself anyway.
Yeah.
Well, what are you doing then? Like, I think that's the big problem. You cannot generate a film in this sense where both characters grow together if one character must start and basically have no arc because they're perfect from the start.
Yeah.
You can't go anywhere with that. The character is complete.
Yeah.
Well, you can't generate a romance with someone who is complete.
Yeah.
Because, like, in real life, you can feel like a complete person and enter a relationship, that's fine. But when it comes to a story narrative for a film, you need somewhere to drive the character to.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they need a journey, an arc.
So, this is that thing, you have to separate the art from the reality.
Yeah.
You can be a complete person and enter into a relationship, have a great relationship, and be as complete before as you are inside the relationship. But for a narrative, for a film, you need a journey.
Let's talk about the acting as well, because since we've talked about the character arcs.
Yes.
We'll start with the two leads. Obviously, Jennifer Grey and Patrick Swayze famously don't actually get on very well during the production of this film.
No.
I think largely because, A, Patrick Swayze was actually injured during the making of this and was in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
But also, what I've always heard is he found her to be too self-serious and too stuck up, and she found him to be too lackadaisical.
Yes.
Is what I've always heard. And you can actually see it at one point. There's a bit in the film where he's like doing this slow brush down her body with his hand, and she keeps laughing.
Yes.
And the look at he's not acting at one bit. At one bit he literally just loses his shit and like almost like starts to walk off camera sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that's real, apparently. Like, he really lost it with her.
Yeah.
But the chemistry's incredible.
I think that's why, though, because, again, it's that arc. A lot of these films, they'll start off that the romance has begun. And, like, in this case, obviously she fancies him, but he doesn't actually fancy her, per se.
No, he quite dislikes it, doesn't he? Because he's got the chip on his shoulder,
where
he's like, it's just one of these rich bitches, blah,
and he's
blah,
just
blah.
using her to help. Well, he's using her. She's offered to help.
Yeah.
To complete to
help his friend Penny.
Well, to complete a dance showcase for the next year because Penny is currently not available due to
the abortion. That goes
So,
wrong.
Yeah.
Because even when Baby first gets the money, because that's a brutal line,
that is
when she gets the money and he's like, it takes a lot of courage to go running to daddy.
Yeah, that was unfair as well.
Yeah.
At that point, it's like, dude, that's not earned. He's like she's helping you out, and she's gone out of her way.
Yeah. But that's him having this chip on his shoulder, isn't it?
But I think that's why, like, again, a lot of romance films will start off with them in a romance. The romance goes wrong, and then they have to reclaim it in some way.
Yeah.
Whereas with this one, they're not in a relationship. She may fancy him, but he's not only not interested from the off, but he's quite antagonistic to her.
Yeah.
Because she's just this posh bitch who will go run to daddy, whatever. And he has to learn to respect her for what she is and who she is.
Yeah.
The same way that she has to relearn, like, that is more than just a piece of ass. So I think that's something else that's to the strength of this film. There is a big journey. I always like Patrick Swayze and stuff. He's always good. His dancing, this is very good. And when I saw him in Point Break, he just exudes a natural charisma. He's playing a villain in Point Break.
Yeah.
And yet he's still incredibly charismatic.
That's the point, though, isn't it? Because I've not seen Point Break, but isn't the point that Keanu Reeves' character is almost seduced to the dark side
he is, yeah.
by how charismatic Patrick Swayze is?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. But that wouldn't work if Swayze couldn't pull it off.
Yeah,
and
course.
He makes it seem so easy.
Yeah, he's got a real likability to him,
Yeah.
Swayze has. And you're right, the dancing in this film is on, but from everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they must have trained so hard
Yeah.
for this film. The first Dirty Dancing sequence where it's him and Penny, and my God, the flexibility on that woman.
Oh, she's
when she puts her,
insane, isn't she?
She puts her ankle up by his head and, like, bends down into his... I was like, fucking hell.
She's bending into shapes I didn't know was humanly
I
possible.
would pull every muscle in my body if I attempted that.
To be fair, I think she's practiced a bit more than you.
Yeah, but still. Yeah, I mean, all the... and I tell you what's great about this film. It's got lots of heat and lots of sexiness.
Yes.
No sex scenes.
Yes. It's suggested or implied in certain scenes.
Yeah.
But you never see the
or
act
you see
itself.
the lead up to it.
Yeah, you see him taking her top off and kissing up her body at one point.
Yeah.
And then it's like the next day and they're both in bed and the act has been done. Like, we don't need to see it. Again, I always find that classier than actually showing some bloke slamming against a woman. I don't need to see that unless it's a porno, but that's a different... I didn't come here for that.
Yeah, so the same thing. We're not reviewing
That's
porno.
a different Dirty Dancing.
Yeah, I mean, during the dance sequences, there's a lot of... What's so interesting in this as well is the way that all of the dancers are considered scum because they dance sexy.
They're just entertainers.
Because they're
as
just
well.
entertainers.
Yeah.
That's considered like a lower class, but also because the dancing is sexy. But the people running the establishment are hypocrites because you hear them saying to the dancers, dance with these women, do whatever
make it sexy,
make them feel like it, but nothing, blah 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 blah.
Don't take it any step further. Just it's purely professional, right?
And meanwhile, whilst turning a blind eye to what the rich waiter staff are doing.
Well, actually,
Robbie.
he actually pushes it, doesn't he? Because he introduces Robbie and he tells them that he's in Yale at the moment because obviously he's working there as a waiter between years at Yale.
Yeah.
And so it's like the idea is that he's trying to pair the waiting staff off because they're actually intelligent, highborn.
And I couldn't help but feel... I'm not saying they deliberately did this as a metaphor. It's just one of those accidental things. It is such example of how we treat sex work in the Western world at the minute, where it's almost this necessary part of society. You always catch like celebrities with hookers and politicians with hookers and things like that, or strippers, or everyone watches porn, etc., etc. But then there's an attitude of, well, these people are low class because they're doing a sexy thing. We don't want them to stop doing the sexy thing.
What you say? Let's put it into something other than sex work, something like pole dancing.
Well, pole dancing is classed as a type of sex work.
It's not, because you're not having sex.
It's still classed as...
Sex work is prostitution,
No. Sex work it's cam work, prostitution, stripping, pole dancing. That's all considered sex work.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm outside of this bullshattery, one way or the other.
My point is, people like to look down on it, and yet it's a necessary part of society. And we have that here, where it's, I want you to do it so that the guests come and spend more money, but you're also scum, and we're going to make you stay in these other cabins that are like off to the side of the area, and I don't want to see you fraternising with the guests outside of paid lessons and things like that.
Sure.
And I just thought that was really interesting, and it speaks to a lot of like societal attitudes and a lot of class dynamics as well.
Yeah, yeah. Certainly in the UK, but obviously this is an American film, so I'm guessing the irony is that America will consider itself post-class. Well, Britain at the moment considers itself post-classism, which is bullshit.
Gonna say we're one of those classist
Oh
societies.
yeah.
I know.
If anything, it's gotten worse in the last 10 years than it's ever been, or at least in it's been in like 50, 60 years. But anyway, in America, they like to consider themselves post-classism because they got rid of the Brits. That's why, so they don't have class. But there are defined class systems in America.
They considered themselves past imperialism, and yet the entire period of history, like they are known as Imperial America a lot of the time. Because they're going in and taking over countries. And in terms of acting as well, I want to shout out Jerry Orbach as well as the dad.
Yeah.
He's brilliant in this. There's the scene when he's found out that Baby has banged Patrick Swayze. And he's sitting out on the
deck. You put that in the most sensitive terms.
And he's sitting out on the deck and he's done the whole, I don't know who you are anymore thing.
Yeah.
And she comes to tell him, like, sorry. He has no dialogue in that scene.
Oh, absolutely, literally not even
Not
a
one
sound.
word. And yet every emotion plays out across his face.
Yeah.
You can see him struggling to hold it together. The fact that he goes to speak just a second too late after she stormed away.
Yeah.
Like he turns to stop her and
that
it's too
man
late,
is an
she's gone.
incredible actor.
Yeah, shame he's not with us anymore.
Yeah, but that performance tells you everything because it's all in the subtleties.
Yeah.
A lesser actor would have played it just okay.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't have gotten so many grades of emotion.
Yeah.
With literally zero. Like, he's got zero to do.
Yeah.
And yet he's doing all of it.
Yeah.
That scene would not work as well without him.
No, not at all.
By a long
Not at all.
margin.
He's doing a lot of the heavy lifting in that scene.
Yeah.
And do you want to know which bit always makes me tear up?
Go on.
Is the bit where, at the risk of admitting this, I don't know why, it didn't when I was younger, but it does now. The bit after the abortion's gone wrong, and the dad comes and fixes it,
Yes.
and tells her never to see them again, and she goes up to see Patrick Swayze, and he's doing the whole, I don't mean anything, your dad means your dad did something real tonight, I couldn't do it. And he goes, and you baby, you're not scared of anything. She goes, I'm scared of everything. I'm scared of what we did. I'm scared of this. And most of all, I'm scared of walking out of here and never feeling again in my whole life the way I do when I'm with you.
That's the first time she admits that she's actually got proper
and I
feelings
don't know
for
why.
him.
Every time, I don't like full on sob or anything like that. But every time, my eyes water a bit when she says that. I'm like, oh man.
You have to dab your eyes with your silk handkerchief.
Nobody put baby in the corner.
Nobody cries at that line.
I do.
Not a baby in the corner.
No, nobody puts baby in the corner.
I was going to say, no one cries at that line.
No, because that's a victorious line. That's the fuck.
going to say a Victorian.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
One does not put baby in the corner.
My God, though, the two... Do you know what? I don't know if you needed two nerd villains in this. You've got Robbie, the prep school Yale boy,
yes,
and you've got the grandson of the owner of the thing. And I guess that's because, I suppose, to be honest, I don't know, is it Neil? It's Neil, isn't it? The grandson. I don't know why you could just have Neil be the one who knocked up Penny.
Yeah, because the thing
I don't
is,
think you necessarily needed both of them.
Well, there is a little bit of unnecessary fluff in this, I suppose, if you look at the characters from a completely raw perspective, because you're right, you've got the nerd grandson who is dating baby, or that their parents want baby to date, who is a complete sap.
Yeah,
there are whole
but
points
loves to try and play with what little power he has got as the grandson of the owner.
Yeah,
loves to throw that around, doesn't he?
And that's great because it shows that he, what he would probably be like in a very microscopic scale in a relationship. He's the guy with the money. He's the guy with the power. Yeah. You are an underling to him.
Mate, the cringiest line in the whole film is the first time he takes baby out. And he's showing off, and it's very clear. It is so clear that it's small man syndrome.
Yeah.
And him being like, "Oh, I've got a bigger dick." He's talking about how all the women like Swayze, and I think he says the lifeguard. I don't think we ever meet the lifeguard.
No.
But you imagine a lifeguard's a fairly in shape, buff dude as well.
Usually.
And he's on about how he's showing off to a girl you're on a date with.
Yeah.
oh yeah, I took a girl away from him, and the guy was like, I take girls away from all these guys, and they're always like, I don't understand it. What does he got that I don't got? And the answer is 2 hotels.
Oh, so yeah, it's such a cringe flex, isn't it?
Mate,
It's like, oh,
it's such a. And the worst part is it's because it's so accurate. I've met people like that.
yes.
Oh, yeah, people think he's better than me just because he's like tall or just because he's got muscles or whatever. But actually, I did this and I did that. And I took girls away from him. Fuck off.
And it says a lot because it's like, well, Patrick Swayze doesn't even think he's in competition with you, but you're flexing on him.
Yes.
It's like, what's the point? Like that's how you know it's bullshit.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Because Patrick Swayze sitting there go, well, I'm better than him. And he doesn't need to. He doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
I like that. That was cool. But you've got him. And there's also a bit of a plot hole in a way because he kind of disappears for certain parts of this film.
Yeah, he doesn't come looking for her while she's rehearsing for the show, does he?
Yeah, and you're like, well, she's been away for like 3-4 days. Considering how possessive he is of her, the one time he does go and see her while she's learning to dance and just misses them about to kiss, he doesn't get that that's what's happening. He thinks that he's paying for dance lessons. He flexes again about how much money he's got and all this shit.
Yeah.
And pressing his power on Patrick Swayze. But that's it. He doesn't even seem that bothered. He's like, oh yeah, make sure he gives you every minute of the dance lessons you've paid for. But yeah, so it would have been better, rather than have him and the other villain, that instead, at this point, he decides that because she's absent, she won't pay him any attention. He then goes to the sister.
Yeah.
Because that's the other storyline, isn't it? That the other nerd is after her sister.
Yeah.
But it's the other nerd who slept with Penny and made her pregnant.
Yeah.
You could wrap those into one character and just have it that this guy he's like, oh, fine, but if baby's not interested, I'll fuck the sister then.
Yeah.
Goes for the sister, has already knocked up Penny at this point, and then there's a good reason why he's not chasing her while she's learning the dance, but still comes into flex on Swayze, thinking that there's no way she'd go for a dog like Swayze. And then, that still leads to the same conclusion.
Yeah, that's probably the one change I'd make. The other guy, that Robbie, my God, that's something that went over my head. I like that
he outs himself.
That's something that went over my head at 13 when he hands her the Fountainhead. And obviously didn't realise what the fuck that was meant to be. The book he hands her, The Fountainhead by Ayn Rand.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously at 13 I didn't know who the fuck Ayn Rand was.
Yeah, certainly not in the UK.
Yeah, and when he hands it to her and...
You might explain what Ayn Rand is just for anyone who doesn't know.
She was, I don't fully know her, but she was a philosopher and author who was, I want to say German, but I could be wrong.
Now she's a philosopher.
And she wrote a couple of books. Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged are her 2 most famous ones, and they're both massive. I actually watched, they made a film of Atlas Shrugged. It's in 3 parts. It's low budget as fuck. It's got Daisy from the original Super Mario Brothers in it, Samantha Mathis.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And what I didn't realise, I watched it and it was a shit film. It was really shit. And what you come to realise is I don't want to say anything that's wrong because I'm not super familiar with her, but I think she's basically super right-wing.
Right.
And she had this philosophy that was like ultra unfettered capitalism, like proper, just like nothing matters but making money sort of thing.
Yeah, and Robbie quotes her, doesn't he?
And I don't know if it's a quote from her, but he says, I've been reading this, it's given me a lot of ideas, and then says, some people matter and some people don't.
Yeah.
Mate, if you ever need to check if you are being a douchebag, just ask yourself, am I paraphrasing a line said by Albert Wesker in Resident Evil 5 when he says only a handful of humans truly matter?
That is a joke for VGMP, not for STC.
Yeah, I'll cut it.
No. I want to help the crossbleed between the two.
Yeah, and then, as you said, at the end, he ends up... Because he gets away because, due to the class discrepancy, everyone assumes...
Including her dad,
that Patrick Swayze is the father of the baby that ends up getting aborted.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to shout, just quickly shout out as well, because you didn't get this often in the 80s, what a great representation of a platonic friendship between a man and a woman.
Yes.
With Penny
No,
and
100%.
Johnny.
Yeah, there's never any suggestion that they've been sleeping together. He genuinely loves
But everyone
her.
assumes that they do.
Yeah, because they get
of
on
the
so well.
attitude back then.
And like when Baby finds her crying in the kitchen, Patrick Swayze comes in. There's never a hesitation. There's never any worry about what it looks like. He goes straight away to her, looks after her, says, okay, everything's going to be all right. And he's right there with her, like you would expect from, well, to be fair, from a partner or a best friend. And obviously, in this case, there's never a suggestion that they've ever slept together. In fact, he's quite insulted by that. I think it's more that she's like a sister to him.
I think there's a bit where she asks, they've got that mutual friend, the one who carries the watermelons.
Yeah.
Who, unfortunately, I didn't catch his name in the whole film.
He comes in every now and then.
Yeah. I think there's a bit where Baby actually asks him if they were ever together, and he says no.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it's just because they have such hot chemistry while dancing.
Yeah.
That's why everyone assumes that they must be fucking.
Robbie's going to get away with it, but then he outs himself right at the end when Jerry Orbach gives him a gift of money to help him through his next year at uni.
Yeah.
And the guy's just like, oh, and thank you for taking care of that Penny situation. We've all been in situations like this before, am I right? And Jerry Orbach's like, what? And he goes, well, I don't know for sure. Girls like that probably out bawling every guy in the thing. And Jerry Orbach just snatches the money back off him and sticks it in his pocket. And he's like, yeah, fuck you.
You should have punched him, man.
I kind of wish he punched him. Yeah.
He should have punched him.
It would have not fit in the scene, because...
It was swelling up to the romantic ending, wasn't it? So having a bit of man testosterone violence probably not right, but he deserved a good smack in the face.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
That was I mean, he did get one earlier from Patrick Swayze, which was incredibly well earned. And actually, I was kind of surprised that Robbie kept that to himself, because Patrick Swayze could have gotten sacked just from attacking a guest. So it's never explained why Robbie seemed to have like one small element of honor, in which case he kept that to himself. Maybe
I think it's self-preservation.
Do you think it's ego because he didn't want to admit he got beaten up?
I think it's ego, and I think it's a little bit self-preservation, because I think the owner would still be pissed that he'd impregnated one of the...
Well, you wouldn't have to tell him that. It'd just be,
Yeah, but the answer... But it would be, like, well, what was
the
truth
fight
would
about?
out,
wouldn't it? The truth would out, I suppose. Even if he said, no, he's lying, why the hell would I have sex with her? But yeah, that's the point. I love the implication.
Yeah, the implication. I love the soundtrack to this film.
Oh,
great
you said
soundtrack.
That before. Phenomenal. One of the best.
Absolutely brilliant. Time of Your Life, Hungry Eyes, Big Girls Don't Cry. She's Like the Wind, Patrick Swayze.
Is she?
Ha ha ha. I honestly don't know. I'm trying to think of negatives to say about the film so that this is a fair and balanced episode. But other than the possibility of the two nerd characters being a little bit, you don't need them both.
Yeah.
There are no glaring flaws in this.
It's not a flawed movie.
No.
Okay, so if we need... Because we've both enjoyed this film. You've seen it before and you've watched it regularly and loved it. I've never seen it before, and I've immediately taken to it, which I did not expect. I expected to kind of like the retroness of it, but I didn't expect to like it as a film per se. But I do. I think it's great. So let's look at some of the negatives those reviews stated. It stated one of the reviews stated that it was vapid or
a lot of them. Again, it was all genre bias. It was people saying, "Oh, it's just this frothy little romance. So it's silly." Idiot plot.
I never understood the idiot plot. I'm like,
it's like Ebert, bad take, bro.
Yeah, I'm like,
I like Ebert usually. I think a lot of his takes are pretty solid, but that was a miss for me.
The question I have on like idiot plot, the plot is consistent. Tonally and logistically, apart from maybe what we mentioned before about the two nerds convoluting that element of it.
Fair enough, it's not fucking, I don't know.
It's not a scientific fucking...
The Foundation or something.
Look, it's not 2001 A Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
But if you came to Dirty Dancing expecting 2001 A Space Odyssey, that's on you.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Exactly, but that's on you. You weren't going to get existential crisis in Dirty Dancing.
No.
That's the wrong genre.
What you do get is what I thought was a really fucking relatable plot.
Yeah.
As someone who is working class, like, When I say I relate to Johnny here, I do not mean I look anything like Johnny.
I look exactly like Patrick
Yes,
Swayze in this
yes,
film.
of course.
100%.
Add £300.
Oh.
300's too much, actually. I have no concept of weight. £100?
I'm at least 2 newtons heavier.
2 newtons? What's a newton?
Newton.
Oh, Newton.
Yeah, I said it wrong.
We need to wrap up now.
Well, you had the old ton, and now you have the Newton, which was invented by Sir Isaac Newton.
Same time he invented Mavity. Anyway.
Oh, let's not get onto
that's
that
my
topic.
one per episode Doctor Who ref.
Nice.
Yes. Should we throw out a quick shout out to Wayne Knight? Wayne Knight's in this movie.
Yes, he's only a very small part in this film. I'm guessing
playing
it's one
a proper
of his...
hacky comedian, isn't he?
Yeah, but he plays it well.
Yeah.
The
I
puns
finally
he
started
comes out
dating
with-
a girl who's exactly like my mother. Took her home to meet my parents. My father doesn't like her.
You said he's basically me in this film.
Yeah.
And you know what? Fuck it. If I could have the career of Wayne Knight, I'd be a happy
dye
man.
his hair blue and give him laser eye surgery, and he's you.
Yeah.
And fuck up his knees. We don't know. He might have bad knees anyway. We
He
don't
might
know
badly.
that.
I've never seen him doing his own stunts.
What you talking about? You mean he didn't actually get flattened in Space Jam
Or eaten by a
and
dinosaur.
then inflated?
Oh shit! I forgot he was in Space Jam.
Yeah.
Oh no, that
He
was
gets
terrible.
pancaked. It was awful. It was a horrifying Cronenbergian
It
nightmare.
was the one time where it was like, is this going to get dark? Is this going deeper? What's going on?
So I think that's all there is to say, really.
Yeah, I haven't
We've
got much
gushed
to
over
say.
this film enough.
Yeah, I'm quite happy to say that I would recommend this film. I know we don't do that on this particular show generally, but actually I really enjoyed this one.
Oh, 100%.
There's very few of the shows we've watched at the moment that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
That I'm like, hell yeah, I'd watch that again.
Yeah.
I'd watch that again right now.
Yeah.
Like,
Great film.
It's very rare. Like, to be
And
fair, it's rare that there's a film that you would watch
Yeah.
immediately after having just watched it.
Yeah.
I would watch that again.
Yeah, I would. And I don't think it's it's like that bit in Friends where he goes, should we watch Die Hard 2? Joey, this is Die Hard 1 again. Yeah, but if we watch it a second time, then it's Die Hard 2. Yeah, I think the last thing I'm going to say is this has a reputation as a chick flick. I don't think it is. I mean, I could see the majority of the audience being women.
And why? Yeah.
But this is not a film that if a man watches it, he's going to be miserable the entire time, because I think there's enough drama and pathos there to keep a man entertained as well.
Yeah.
I don't think... Because I understand why something like, I don't know, like a Hallmark romance movie is like, yeah, I'd be bored out of my fucking mind watching that. But yeah, that's all I've got to say. I agree with you. I'd watch it again right now, and I highly recommend people do watch it.
Nice. And by this time next year, we'll be millionaires. No, I was gonna say I want to look like Patrick Stewart. Patrick Stewart.
Well, we could do that. I've got some razors somewhere.
You be Patrick Stewart. I'll be Patrick Swayze.
How about now?
But I've got the blue hair
I'll
that
be
Patrick Swayze had in this
I'll
film.
be Patrick Dempsey then. How about that?
Who's Patrick Dempsey?
He's some guy from ER that everyone fancies.
Okay, I'll be George Clooney.
Okay. Fine.
There are no sexy blue-haired celebrities, are there?
No.
Not that are men, anyway.
No.
I'll be the first.
There's not.
I'll be the first.
Got to be a celebrity first.
I am a celebrity.
Anyway, thank you everyone for listening. We hope you enjoy the show, and I hope we continue to enjoy the show. If you're interested in checking out our sister show, VGMP, the Video Game Movie Podcast, which releases episodes every Saturday. There we review video game-based movies. Those are both films that are adapted from video games. For instance, Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Sonic the Hedgehog, etc., etc. But we also do films that are tangentially related to video games, such as Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, Hackers, Joysticks, dear lord.
Why did you go with joysticks?
It was the one that popped in my head. We did watch an amazing one, a stone cold classic,
Something that
called
people
Black Heaven, which was
people
amazing.
If you like STC and you like deep, intelligent films, Black Heaven is the one. Do not watch joysticks. Watch Black Heaven. Joysticks
was
avoid like the
garbage.
plague.
Yeah. But that show's a little bit more comedy focused, but it's still film analysis. Also, if you'd like to listen to our audio drama, Haunted the Audio Drama, that is a full cast horror adventure with a dash of comedy, sort of an X-Files meets Doctor Who thing. And that releases episodes every Sunday with previews on Wednesdays.
Nice.
Thank you very much for listening, and we'll catch you for the next film.